Hello everyone. Happy Friday. Hope you guys are having a good one, and I hope you've had a good week. We are doing our monthly installment of Ask Anything. This is just a really great opportunity for our ŌNCE Club members, or if you're not a member and you'd like to know more about what the ŌNCE Club is, just an opportunity to ask anything that you feel like might be relevant. So if you want to ask us about the community platform that we've been building for the last couple of months, if you'd like to ask a little bit more about something specific to personal shopping or luxury sourcings, I'm here. My name's Dominique. I am the community and memberships manager for the ŌNCE Club, and my background is working with essentially high net worth clientele all over the world. I've worked with Net-a-Porter, Farfetch, and Thread Styling, amongst some other really cool brands. And essentially this is what I've been doing for 13 plus years, really based around client experience. So hopefully I can answer all your questions today. If you do have any questions, you can submit your questions. If you're watching via the Zoom link, you can submit your questions there. Please feel free. If you are watching on our live ŌNCE Club, which is a first, by the way, we've never done a live event with Instagram before, so thank you for joining us. And yes, you can pop your comments down, or questions if you have any, and yeah, we will get it started, I suppose. We did have some questions that came in prior to starting the event, so I am going to kick off with those, and if that kind of makes you think, oh, that's something I want to ask, or leads on to something else, please pop it through. Or if you want to join the conversation from where you are to ask your question, that's also great as well. So we had a great question actually from one of our members, and they were asking, how do you choose brands or pieces for clients? You know, how do you make it very specific? So that's a great question, because I think there's, you know, we live in a world now where the market is saturated. You know, I don't think that there is any other way to put that, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's great to have lots of choice and options, but I think if you're dealing with a client, sometimes it's hard to know where to start. If you work within a brand or an organization, I suppose you're a little bit more limited. There's usually some kind of a, if you will, there's a kind of a, how can I put it, a glass ceiling in terms of what type of brands you can choose. But for the most part, you want to, you're kind of thinking about, you know, where to start with a client, you know, if they've made a request for an event or something. So first of all, I would sort of narrow down on what they're asking you for, and really get from them exactly what they would like you to achieve, you know, with styling a look. You know, is it for an event? Is it for work? Is it for every day? Figure out what they need to be doing around this event, around this particular occasion. You know, if it is for everyday lifestyle, is it, you know, do they have children? Do they walk dogs? Do they have a job where they need to kind of sort of be semi-professional, but it's not as professional as working in the bank? You know, take all these points into consideration before you start selecting. And then I think it comes down to what you know. I think, you know, sometimes I tend to go with the brand that I know and the brand that I like. Now, that's not to say that all of these brands and all of these pieces are going to work for that client, but I always start from a place of what I know, where I feel that I can sort of offer good advice. So, you know, if I have a client and she's looking for, you know, a particular occasion, I'm probably going to want to get an idea of how she's going to want to feel that day, and, you know, see if she likes, you know, does she want to stand out? Does she want to be demure? Does she want to be a little understated? And then I kind of go with the brands that speak to those types of points, you know. So if I know that it's a client that wants to really stand out and she wants to make a statement, perhaps I'm going to suggest a Zuhair Murad, for example, you know, something that's going to have a real wow factor. Maybe it's Ellie Saab, you know, if she's looking to look really cool and edgy, but she loves a sparkle, maybe it's a Halpan, for example. So you kind of want to know your brand. And I think, you know, a lot of when we talk about sort of brand knowledge, brand research, and kind of loving what you do comes from having a really great idea of who is around and how these items fit. It never hurts to kind of go to your nearest luxury department store, like a Selfridges, if that's, or something similar, you know, and to kind of really get an idea of who, you know, what these brands look like in real life. Try them on yourself, have a feel of the fabrics, see how they fall, see if they stretch, see if they feel comfortable. And also something that I would always do as well is it's good to actually take people with you. Maybe, you know, if you have a colleague or a friend who's into what you're into, but someone who's also different sizes. So then you have an idea of, you know, what a size 12 looks like. I'm talking UK. What a size UK 8 would look like, you know, someone who has a bigger bust, someone who has a bigger hip, someone who's taller, because actually everything looks different on the different client. And that's how I normally start with selecting pieces for my clients. Essentially, you know, I start with what I know in terms of fit, fabric, and kind of feeling, and I get as much details from that particular client. And I would also say it's really important to understand budget, because you might have really great, and you know, I made that example before of saying Zuhair Murad, but they might not have a budget for Zuhair Murad, so then you have to find something similar. And that's also good, having like a really great reference point of glamour or what that client might look like, and then sort of tailoring it to their budget specificity and what they need will also actually go a long way for you, which will be really, really helpful. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you. What do we have here next? Oh, this one's a good one. Actually, oh yeah, I really like this question. So how do you go about sourcing kind of out of stock, they put it in quotes, out of stock items or things that are really high in demand and there's a waiting list? Excellent question. It's difficult sometimes, I think, you know, especially with social media and social commerce. Sometimes what you'll be seeing a lot of promotion of a particular cult piece, let's call it, and actually at the time there's only so much a brand usually can predict, or sometimes they're very clever when it comes to where they stock and the quantity of what they stock, because they want to be able to actually create they want to create a buzz and they want to create demand, essentially, and to see how something runs. So that goes a long way, and sometimes in anticipating what they think is going to be a huge cult item. But sometimes there's no precedence for that, and I've seen it before in my career where things have, you know, been a cute dress that has been received well, and then, you know, the right person wears that particular item, someone maybe in the public eye. I'll give you an example. The blue dress that Kate Middleton wore, which is a blue sort of stretchy silk jersey dress. I remember working at Net-a-Porter, having that piece available, and it was doing okay. And the minute that she wore it, we for 2 years could not keep that particular style in stock. It was from ŌNCE. And, you know, back then I was working in an organization, so we were limited by how we could appropriate stock. That being said, we had a great relationship with that brand at the time, and we had the demand there that they were able to actually increase our orders for us going forward. Now, if you're an independent or you're working in a more of a sort of smaller company or service, there's a lots of different things you can do. So first of all, I would always say have multiple contacts, and if you can expand your contacts to be global, even better. So don't limit yourself to a UK, if you're based in the UK or if you're based in Europe, I wouldn't limit yourself there. I would always try and have connections with particular brands, you know, whether it's, and you can talk about luxury brands or either, but sometimes, you know, having a couple of, reaching out to stores in Paris, perhaps Germany, Spain, even the US will really go a long way. And, you know, you can build those rapport with a particular if you can get like the name of someone who works in the store and you're able to kind of convert an inquiry into a sale, they'll absolutely want to work with you again. And so it's really exciting for them to be able to kind of work internationally. Now, what I would say before you kind of start going down the global market, ask your client if they are happy for you to do that. Make sure that they're comfortable with the idea that the item might be coming from a different country, which means that there are additional fees to that. Sometimes you're looking at import duties and taxes. Sometimes shipping is not included. So that means they might have to pay more with shipping as well as import duties and taxes. And also, you know, there's a conversion to kind of figure out as well. So just make sure that you're aware of what you're offering the client before you know, go through the rigmarole, if you will, of going to great lengths to finding a piece in a different country, and then the client says, I don't want it from that particular country. So I always ask them, I say, would you be happy for me to source this piece at this particular price? I can't confirm the final price yet, but I would imagine it's of this particular region, and I'd give it to them in the local currency, and then convert it into their particular currency as well. So that's a start. So having global contacts for sure will always help. If you're struggling with a particular piece and say it's a smaller brand, I mean, it's much easier now than it used to be, but don't be afraid to message these brands directly on Instagram. I know that I've worked with women who have just decided to email a press company to be able to find a piece, or the press department of a company, because they didn't know where this piece was from, or they've gone to the PR agency that looks after that brand to see if they can get them. So so you can ask them all these, you know, you can use lots of different avenues. And then if your customer is happy, you can always look down the secondary market route, which is essentially looking for it via a reseller site like a Vestiaire, for example. There are obviously some caveats with that. So you might want to make sure that they're comfortable with that, understand what it means if they're buying it from a different, you know, is it used, is it pre-owned, do we have receipts for authentication, is there a, you know, it might not be returnable, but these are ways to kind of source these really high in demand out of stock pieces. And listen, waiting lists never hurt, but I would say that there are, you know, before you start maybe talking about waiting lists or even suggesting alternatives, which again is not a terrible idea, I would always sort of use my global network. And also you might have a friend in the right place who might know someone. So I always use your personal network. And we've got a question from Azra. Hi Azra, thanks for your question. Would the client be scared to try out something new? I'm not sure what you mean, but if you're worried about a client who you think is going to be scared to try something new, I think that's normal. I think most people or, you know, women, men, to whoever you're styling, we shop with what we know. We tend to most people will stick with the bubble. We like what we like and we like what we know. So anytime that you're trying to get a client to try something new, I think you have to gauge where the boundaries are with that particular client, you know, see if they are open to something new in the first place, get an idea of what they like already. So, you know, ask them for brands, ask them for images of themselves in their favorite items or pieces or similar items that they've worn before, so you can get a real visual of who the person is and where they feel comfortable. It's very common that a lot of people might project an idea of what they like, but actually what they wear are two different things. So I always try to get an idea of what they've purchased before, mixed with what they like, you know, even if it's a celebrities, for example, you know, who's your favorite celebrity style? And then I start to merge the two. And then I try to find new brands that do similar things, but give them a point of difference. And also, I think when it comes to a client trying something new, you should be educating them on the journey. So that might mean essentially that you found them a brand that's actually going to fit their body better. It's going to make them feel confident. It's going to highlight their assets a little bit more rather than hide them. And so you can sort of let them know that the reason why I'm choosing this brand is because this is going to make you feel more confident here. It's going to maybe, you know, if sometimes, you know, let's say the bust is an issue, maybe they want to minimize that. This is going to minimize this problem for you. This is going to accentuate your hips if that's what you like. This is going to make you look a little bit longer in the leg. These are all great ways to let the client know that taking a risk on a new brand, you know, it's a bit of a risk, but there's going to be some really amazing rewards to that. And actually, it's really about how you feel inside as well as how you're going to look on the outside that counts with that client. So you have to really make sure that you're building them up with the knowledge of why it's a good time to try something new, for sure. I hope that question helps. So what else have we got here? So we had another question from before, from one of our members, and they asked him, you know, where would you source clients if you're just starting out as a personal shopper? So, which is a great question. I've actually, I think, spoken about this a little briefly before, and there's no easy way, I think, to find clients. I think word of mouth is a really great tool, and I think, you know, even with social media and building websites and things like that, you know, really narrowing down on who you know already and getting them to kind of work with your you know, with what you do, and getting them to kind of spread the word for you is really great. So, you know, if you have use your network, your friends, your family, and let them know, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm offering, please tell your friends, tell your family, and, you know, allow that to kind of be a starting point for you. Another thing that I've done cheekily, maybe, I'm not sure, in the past, is I have essentially looked out for opportunities whilst shopping, or, you know, running other errands for other clients on the job. So, you know, I have in the past been in a Selfridges, if you will, or a luxury store or brand, and realized that this particular person who I don't know is not necessarily getting the service that they need. And maybe I strike up a conversation with them and I give them my card and I just say, hey, if you ever need anything down the line, this is what I do. Keep in touch. I'd be happy to talk to you. Really, you know, casual, nothing too pushy. And, you know, as much as I think in a lot of ways, sometimes I think business cards are seen a little bit antiquated, I still really find the power of a business card really important. I always, you know, even when I'm not working, I always have some in my purse with me, or in my, you know, card wallet, just in case I meet someone that I think might want to be in contact. And it just means that they have something quite tangible, rather than sort of getting lost in a melee of social media handle, for example. So that's another way I would sort of get to source new clients. I'd also talk to other people who are maybe in and around your network who do what you do. So sometimes there are, for example, specialists. So actually, I was speaking with someone who mostly does sourcing for Hermes luxury handbags and luxury watches, and she asked if I would be taking on new clients now for more ready to wear, because, you know, that's something that I focus on. So, you know, you can cross, if you want to say cross pollinate, I don't know if that's the word, with you know, other people who maybe they do fine jewelry, but you do ready to wear. maybe you want to do, or vice versa, maybe you do fine jewelry, and so you can always say, hey, if you've got any clients who are really looking for a great ready to wear stylist, please let me know. Here's my card, or here's my number, pass it on. And you also let them know, if I have a client who's really looking for something specific in fine jewelry, I'm going to send you their way. So there's a real idea of building a network and saying, I'm going to, if you help me, not if you help me, but I'm going to also keep you in mind. We can work together, and we can actually I can't do it all, so I'm going to focus. This is where I'm focused, and I know this is where you are focused, so let's work together in some ways. I know lots of friendships and relationships that have been built this way because they've known someone who's in a different category essentially, and they want to be able to help this client, but that's not really their expertise, and so they cross-pollinate, and it really works. And before you know it, if you're doing a really and if you're providing a great service, it will spread, and the word of mouth will become easier because people will be talking about you and say, hey, I actually just worked with someone, they're great, let me pass you on. So these are all great ways. And then making yourself known on social media absolutely doesn't hurt. It doesn't always convert instantly to clientele, but it definitely can support with your audience, again supporting with the word of mouth. And so making sure that you're contactable for these clients as well, what your services are, is a great way just to start building a small base. And to keep that base and to keep them interested is to ensure that you're giving them obviously the service that they have offered, going above and beyond, and then making sure that you're showing them new things that you can do with them, so they don't just work with you once and then you don't hear from them for months and months on end. A really great personal shopper, if you will always want to keep their client interested, even if it's just on a conversation basis. They might not always buy from you in a weekly, monthly basis, but if you can build rapport, they might come back seasonally, and they might come back twice a year. They might do smaller things with you, little and often, or they might do much huger shops with you 2-3 times a year. Either way, you want to have actually a mixture of the two when it comes to clients. So these are really great ways to kind of build that audience. So I hope that was a clear enough answer for you. Azra, another question we have here: how do I ensure of my new line of small scale would be profitable in the long run? Do you mean new line as in a product, or kind of as a new company? I think if it's regarding a new product and you want it to be profitable, I think what you want to do is to manage your expectations and manage your make sure that you're sort of managing your costs and your margins. And it is a fashion line, perfect, yes. So I think if you're going to start small, you want to ensure that you are really watching your margins in terms of, so really watch what your costs are to produce that particular item, and then and ensure that you have a great markup that is going to keep you in the right category or audience where you want to be. So if that means, if it's supposed to be luxury, be luxury, and make sure that you're sort of committing to the quality of luxury. If it's more contemporary and you want it to be a little bit of an easier turnaround, make sure that you're sort of, projecting to the right audience. And then again, you want to make sure that you are setting your sights on the right market audience for sure. So I think, having contacts is absolutely a priority, and having sales to make sure that you are able to convert is super, super important. But I think having a good marketing plan is also important. And again, understanding your audience is going to support you with that, and understanding how to reach that audience. Again, we've seen so many brands really grow and last on social media, especially during pandemic, and being agile with the types of platforms that they use. So, if you have a website, great, but make sure that you're projecting to an audience that's really going to want to shop into that. Ensure that you're accessible in the sense that they can view imagery of that particular item. Don't limit yourself with one image or two. And then I would also understand who's wearing these particular clothes and then use that to your advantage. I've done campaigns with different brands where, it's been really important for us to ensure that we use real women in these particular campaigns, and they've leaned on, especially small brands that have small runs, they rely on their friends and, again, that network of people to support them. And so, I've done it for friends as well. I recently, a ex-colleague of mine, she was launching a clothing part of her label. She actually does stationery, and she wanted to kind of expand that. So she used some of her friends that she knew to model her a particular, a sample item of clothing, and then they used it as the campaign to gauge more support and to kind of essentially do a crowdfund for that particular piece. And I think they used maybe like 9 to 12 people, I'm not sure, but it was a really great way. And what you saw is that lots of different people wearing this one particular item in lots of different ways. It was that, so therefore it was kind of going out to lots of different markets, lots of different audiences, but who kind of loved the style. And it was such a great way. And also that has a very little cost to it by being able to kind of use one sample on lots of different people, and it resonates a lot deeper with that audience as well. And I'd also say make sure that you get as much feedback from that particular item or fashion line that you can. So all customer feedback is actually really valuable, even if it's not necessarily what you want to hear, but it supports you with who you're selling to and how you can continue to expand and how you can grow. So hope that helps. So, and I agree with you. I think, as we're saying, that there are so many brands that grow because they have great marketing, if you will. They're very, they have a great sort of look and feel to their brand, and it catches on really well. Absolutely, there are so many brands that grow really fast, but actually what you will find with sometimes with these brands is that, and not all, is that they grow very quickly, but they also die very quickly. And the reason why sometimes that they die very quickly is simply because they're probably not evolving as they're growing. And that is so important with our with any type of product line or what have you, is that you're listening to the feedback so that you can keep evolving. You might have a really great product that photographs amazing, looks really cool, you have one person, but if it doesn't actually, if it's not fit for purpose, or you can't, or it doesn't have a scalability to it, then you won't be able to grow anywhere. Whereas if you do a product and maybe you realize, actually it's not working really well, or this looks great but it doesn't look great on everyone, but you start taking it on, and then for the next iteration you make some adjustments. Maybe it's the fabric, maybe it's the fit, for example. You can actually make sure that you are speaking to the right audience still, but still have the same impact of that you first did when you first launched. So we've got time for one more question, and actually it's around Cannes. And if you've seen our post on about Cannes Film Festival, it's very exciting that it's back. I'm very excited because I live for the red carpet and for the gowns. It's also a great time that you see amazing jewelry, because it's a great opportunity actually for brands to be seen. That's the truth of the matter. And so they actually do work with particular celebrities and models. Sometimes you might find that there's always these particular models who are never in films, but they're always at film festival, and it's because it's essentially a partnership that they have with the brand. And this is great advertising for these much larger brands, especially the LVMH ones, as an example. So the question was, how do you find these brands from the red carpet? I would say that we have gotten a lot better. When I say we, the industry is a lot better and a lot quicker now at turning around, where the looks are, when we see the looks on the red carpet, where they're from, and sort of saying, oh, this is what they were wearing. And it's a lot better. So you can kind of go on a Vogue website, for example. You can go even like, you know, the tabloids sometimes will tend to have these, you know, if they have good press, they should have who a Bella Hadid is wearing, for example. But there are a lot of events, there's a lot of press calls, there's a lot of carpets at the film festival, so sometimes there's a bit of a lag. I have my favorite source to find out particular, you know, if a model or a actor is wearing a particular brand. I go to Red Carpet Fashion Awards. It's a blog she's been running for a really long time, and she covers so many events. I don't know how she does it, but she pretty much covers, I mean, all the film festivals that you can think of. She tends to be covering them somewhere. I've discovered new brands, new talent that way because of Red Carpet Fashion Awards. But this is an amazing blog to figure out who's wearing what. More importantly, the reason why I think RCFA stands out a lot is because she tends to know the season. And that's another thing that we don't talk about often, is that a lot, you know, when we want to make an impact or we want to make a bit of a splash, some actors and actresses, those who are, you know, on the red carpet, will do couture. Sometimes they're wearing pieces that have not even hit are not actually available to purchase yet, or worse, I wouldn't say worse still, but it makes it a little bit trickier when it's a past item or something that they've had custom made, which also can happen. So that's the reason why I would sort of maybe go to Red Carpet Fashion Awards above another place, because if I see, and I'll give this example because she's on the gram, but Bella Hadid wearing Jean-Paul Gaultier couture, for example, if that particular piece was from several seasons ago, you would know it, and at least then you have a basis of where to go. From there, if it's a piece that's not available to purchase, what you want to do is go to the head office of that particular brand, and you want to be able to say, you know, I'm looking for this particular piece, can you tell me if there is, you know, where it may be in stock, where it's going to be in stock, or when it's going to be released. Typically you should find that those you know, the head office at least of these particular brands should know. If not, I start again doing call emails to local stores. Also a really good sometimes source is a good personal shopper at another organization, because they also tend to know. So for example, you might want to go to your personal shopper in a Porte or a Matches, because they also are being fed a lot of the information, and they also have contact with buyers, and typically buyers also know. And then, you know, if you have the brand and you're not sure of the season or what have you, another thing I would do is I would go actually to Vogue Runway, and I would sort of start flicking through the seasons. So, you know, obviously you start with current season, and if you can't see it there, you go to maybe it's upcoming, and then if it's not there, then you know it's past usually. And I go through the lookbooks, and then I might take that image and send it to either, if it's a contact I have, or if it's not, I send it to you know, a contact, you know, an email contact at a head office, for example, or maybe if I know who handles their press, and I see if there's a way for me to be able to acquire that piece for a client. And what's also interesting is that usually, you know, that particular celeb, if you will, might be wearing something that was a sample, so there actually isn't any in production, or there won't be any, and that's okay. I'll always ask them if there's a commercial version, or ask them if there's another version of that particular style, because then, you know, a client, sometimes that is the way it is, you just can't get that piece. But if you can find them something that's super similar, and you've really, you know, you've got a final answer essentially of if this piece is going to be available or will be available, then you can sort of go to them and say, listen, I can't get you this exact piece, but I can get you the next best thing, which is always appreciated if it's for a huge night, and you know, or if it's a different color to that particular piece because that's what was made and the other one wasn't. I think these are always really great alternative options. So yes, well, those have been amazing questions. Thank you so much for reaching out, and and asking, and I hope I see you again. Usually we do Ask Anything once a month, so even if you have questions for after the fact or leading up to, please get in touch. You can send us a direct message. We would love to be in touch with you and answer any questions that you need around personal shopping, luxury, but also around the ŌNCE Club itself. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you have an amazing Friday, and I guess I'll see you soon. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't let me go into the IGTV.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Why? Because you don't follow it?
No, I'm not sure. No.
That's weird.
I just kept doing the circle. Did I come up on any of the screens when I came in?
Totally dominated the second set. Just had a shot of Leon Smith watching there, the head of men's tennis. He'll be delighted with that performance. And he's booked himself a place on court number 1 later, because he's got to play his next round, his quarterfinal, and he'll be going out on number 1 court. What an exciting moment that will be for the youngster up against the American Lilov. Over on court number 1 at the moment is the first of the ladies' doubles semi-finals.